Okay, good morning. Today is, what is today? April 2nd. I got Rickrolled yesterday, so we're right on track for the month of April. I'm also freezing. My hands are cold. I've been sitting in a chair all day. Today, I am going to cover, I should share my screen. Then you'll know what I'm talking about. It is here, and off we go. Today I'm going to talk about Teams as a modern intranet. This presentation I actually made about a year and a half ago, possibly even 2 years ago, and I was raising the question: do companies of a certain size need to build a classic big intranet? So what is an intranet? Well, actually, I'm already getting ahead of myself. So I'm Sean. I'm a chief troublemaker at Regroove. I'm a dad, a husband. I like to think of myself as a drummer first. Not a lot of gigs going on right now, and I like to learn stuff and share stuff. So, hello, there we go. What is an intranet? So an intranet is basically, it's an internal website historically, right? You've got an internet website, that's your public brochure as a company. An intranet is a website that would be inside your company for providing information to people within your organization quickly and on any device, right? Being in a web browser. And for years, we built intranets that were super fancy. They were often took forever to make because people wanted to make them fancy. The communications department wanted to put their stamp on it, all that kind of stuff. So intranets ended up being these things that just took forever to come out if they did at all. So much emphasis was being put on the homepage of an intranet, like thousands of dollars or hundreds of hours of time just to put a series of widgets on the page so that the page was always fresh and new, because they wanted to make sure people kept coming back to the internet so that it got used and people would move away from putting a piece of paper on bulletin boards and stuff. In fact, for years in SharePoint, the first thing we would do is go into the staff kitchen and take all the paper off the bulletin board and make that content inside the intranet to drive people to it. You had to take away something they needed, like this is for sale or this event's this weekend, put it in the intranet to drive people to actually go use the product. So intranets still exist. Microsoft has knocked it out of the park with their SharePoint communication sites and how they look and behave and how easy they are to work with. It's way easier than it's ever been, and they're stunning. But do we need an intranet for every company, or is it that important anymore? If we're in Teams, which we'll talk about here in a second, working out loud and chatting with each other, we pretty much want the content in that space. And Teams is king right now because it's a platform that works on PC and works exactly the same on Mac. I mean, they're literally in lockstep because of the technology being used. And then on your iPhone and on your iPad and on your Android. So, Teams is everywhere. Why would I want to leave Teams to go visit a website to get information? So I'm going to stop clicking away from the screen. There we go. So what do we find in the internet? We find policies, we find people, we find procedures, we find departments, locations, all that stuff. So that was the place we went to get that information. And as we get going here, you'll see that we still use SharePoint, but now we make beautiful pages, we make beautiful lists, and we would expose them inside Teams. So every department would typically contribute to the intranet, right? You would have finance working in their team, historically on a file server, hopefully today in SharePoint or in Teams, but they still need to push information to the intranet to communicate broadly across the organization what they're up to. Same goes for marketing, same goes for projects, HR, sales, all those guys. So, I mean, this slide is from a year and a half ago, and it's still relevant for a lot of companies today. Obviously, there's a huge amount of uptick in Microsoft Teams and Zoom because everyone is suddenly stuck at home, needing to have live meetings, and they want to chat, and they want to stay connected. So Teams has exploded in use, but a lot of companies still have a lot of this sort of legacy stuff in place. So, what we're looking at here is SharePoint pages, maybe a SharePoint intranet, and then SharePoint for lists and departments and file sharing. A lot of companies still have Skype for Business or some other chat tool. A lot of phone systems will have a chat tool of their own. And so we're using all these disjointed systems and different logins and stuff. Obviously, email and yeah, your phone system. So I've got QuickBooks on here because there's always going to be some sort of line of business app as well. So in our business, outside of the Microsoft tool set, our accounting system is important. So a whole bunch of tools, a whole bunch of things where things are going on, and it can be a bit of a schmozzle. In our case, it's nice because most of this is Microsoft, so I'm using a single login for all the Microsoft stuff. But with another phone system, that was another login. With QuickBooks, it was another login, and all the myriad of apps that I might need to log into as well. So what was the bummer about that? Well, a lot of emails still flying around. I'm a huge anti-email guy. Actually, I think the next screen summarizes that pretty well for what my approach is. But the SharePoint shuffle, I go and grab a file and then I send someone a link or all that kind of stuff. There's no working out loud. So it's a term that we use all the time in the office. Let's work out loud. Let's within Teams or in chat mention someone to draw them into a conversation, because Teams is basically this ongoing living discussion. Working out loud is imperative to how we work. And in the past, definitely a poor mobile experience. When you're on a classic intranet, you're pinching and dragging in SharePoint. SharePoint has an app. It's terrible. I don't use it at all. In fact, I make sure I don't install it. The intent is there, but as far as usefulness, throwing it into a OneDrive app and stuff, it's still not good. So SharePoint is now relegated to being that file sharing experience and pages, which is the two things it did best anyway. So I said I'd rant about email for a second. I am a huge proponent of the concept of inbox zero. So here we go. Really, there's only 5 things you should do with an email. And so at the end of the day, and pretty much all day, I pretty much have an empty inbox. And this is directly attached to stress and people's feeling of never getting anything done, is because they use their inbox to triage their life. I've met people that have 40,000 items in their inbox, and it's mind-blowing. That must just be so stressful. So they're using categorizations and color coding and all sorts of tricks to try to make them feel like they're managing it, but they're not. So let's talk about the sort of 5 things you do. One is, if you get an email and it's something that's going to take under 3 minutes to just do, it's a task, it's getting back to someone, just do it. Just deal with it right there. If it's spam, if it's junk, if it's not something that you need, obviously just delete it. Archiving an email means moving it to the archive folder. And I've actually got to this point where in Outlook, I have like no folders. I just have the ones that Outlook provides. I used to have a huge folder structure. I used to file things. I don't care anymore. Outlook search really works well now, to the point where I'd say it works as well or better than my Google Mail search. And that's saying a lot. I am making the point that I use Outlook on the web. I don't use the classic Outlook software, and I encourage you not to as well. And anyone that wants to talk about or see why, I can definitely demonstrate it. Done a full presentation on that as well. There is really no value in using the classic Outlook software anymore, and I can happily show anybody why. But search in Outlook is amazing. So there's really no reason to file stuff in folders. In fact, if you start relying on those folders, all it takes is one message that you didn't put in that folder, and then you're just going back to search. So use search effectively, archive stuff. And there's a great big fat archive button now in Outlook that's it's just point and click. If an email needs to be, if it's something that you need to deal with later, just schedule it. And if you're using the Outlook app, and I can't wait for it to be in Outlook and Outlook on the web, is the idea to swipe to schedule for later. Like, just get it out of my inbox and have it pop up at a time where it's actually relevant. So if someone wanted to talk with me tomorrow, I would just, and I don't have time to deal with it or even get back to them, I'll just swipe it till tomorrow morning, and then whoop, it's back in my inbox. It's amazing. And the last thing is delegate. Like, if it's not for you to do, give it to somebody else. It's a task, and you use a real task management. Don't email them and just say, hey, could you do this? Because that doesn't set a due date. It doesn't set an ownership. It's basically just almost like walking by someone in the hall and saying, hey, can you do this for me? It'll just sit in their inbox, and it might not get done, or might not get done in a timely manner. So when you delegate it, use a proper task management tool as well. Microsoft To Do, Planner, Trello, whatever. Okay, so that rant is over. So enter Microsoft Teams. So Teams is all about working out loud. Teams is an amazing amazing experience on every device. For whatever reason, right at this moment, I can't think of the technology that Teams is using, which is why on PC and on Mac, the product is always in lockstep. Whenever they release an update, it's always web first, and then PC and Mac get their update, and it just works across both all the time. And that's because the technology that they've built it with is platform independent. Wish I could remember the name, but I can't. Anyway, that's why it's amazing. No more this Office products being 2 years behind on the Mac compared to PC and all that kind of stuff. In Teams, you're working in teams and in channels, and you're creating tabs. And so you basically customize a team and its channels to the context of the content that you're managing or the apps that you need. So it brings them all together. Membership is really simplified. The idea of making really complex permissions in SharePoint sites and really trying to refine stuff, those days are gone. Like, you still need permission for certain things, HR, finance, payroll. But in general, if we're working out loud, it's far easier to share a file with someone if they actually can see it. And with version history in SharePoint and to be able to see who modified a file, if someone changes a file and you weren't expecting it, you can at least look at what happened and roll back. So, one version of the truth is a phrase we use all the time in SharePoint of let's work on one document in one place where it belongs, and then just have that version history look behind it. This last point, up to 10,000 members per Teams, that was effective yesterday. So it used to be 5,000. Prior to that, it used to be 2,500. I don't know if Microsoft just keeps bumping it up to show off or create a press release, but I couldn't imagine trying to work inside a team with 10,000 members. And really, when I talk about using Teams as your intranet, I am talking about a smaller group of people. I wouldn't suggest you use Teams for a company that has 10,000 members as your intranet. Intranet, you need to kind of go back to some of that classic use case stuff. So what about starting your day in Teams? Conversations would occur there. That's where we actually just kick off the day, and I'm actually working out loud with people, and I'm basically checking on my email once in a while, because that's folks that still rely on email, trying to send me information, trying to keep me in that world, as I keep trying to pull them into the idea of working out loud. In Teams, we've got the calendar. Like my full calendar is in Teams. Well, I don't need to go to my calendar necessarily to do that. Working groups, I'm talking about your departments, HR, finance, payroll, or projects. HR or finance and say IT coming together on a project, that'd be another reason to create a team. Say finance needs a new financial package installed. You don't want to have finance going into IT's team, and you don't want IT coming into finance's team, because that's going to really confuse permissions. So you create a project team where finance and IT meet together to decide on a product, install the product, roll out the product, and then archive that project. It's beautiful for that. And then finally, because Teams supports guest access, extranet is another term, right? Internet is your public-facing website. Intranet is your internal website, and extranet is your sort of business-to-business website. So now we're opening up some teams to working with customers or working with vendors, or maybe even that finance project. You've got IT and finance inside that new finance system project team, but we also want to bring in the actual vendor that makes the software, because we want to work out loud with them and exchange files and tasks. We can do that. It's an amazing platform for all these things. Okay, so is this a fit for you? Well, starting from the bottom, 2 to 50 users using Teams as your intranet? Absolutely, and we do it at Regroove. We've been doing it for years now. Previously with Yammer, when that was the way we worked out loud. So for sure. Less than 200 users, I think it's quite possibly a thing still. I think it's manageable. Once you get to 200 to 5,000 users, I think we are starting to talk about Teams is relegated to working as a team, like HR as a team, sales as a team. And then recently with this new 10,000 user cap, 5,000 to 10,000, I think you'd be crazy to use only Teams. You probably still need an intranet. You still need a place where there's lots of read-only information. And there's a whole other presentation we did recently called 3 Pillars of Modern Collaboration, where we talk about it. This is a case of Teams and SharePoint, not Teams or SharePoint for organizations of a certain size. The idea that Teams is where you collaborate and work with each other, and SharePoint is where people go to get information. So who's in finance? How do I reach them? What are the common forms I need? I'm not in finance, but these are the forms I need from them. Another way to put it is Teams is where you write the story, and SharePoint is where you tell the story. I like that description as well. So I remember this. This was, SharePoint for Pages, SharePoint for Libraries, Skype for Business, Outlook, phone, and your line of business system, in our case, QuickBooks Online, to Teams and QuickBooks, and, well, email, because I can't boil the ocean and make everybody use Teams, but I sure am working on it. So at Regroove, I'm going to go into how we built our internal intranet, or use Teams as effectively our intranet. And don't get me wrong, we use SharePoint a lot. We've always been a SharePoint company, so we leverage and push it with everything we do. But for the most part, we work and start our days in Teams, and that's where we live and work. So who we are, we're a team of 16 Office 365 consultants and developers. We work downtown at an arena in Victoria, and we also have our quieter location in Brunswick Bay. And then we work from home, and we work with partners that we bring right into Teams. The reality right now with this whole virus thing is that we're all working from home. So really, we didn't skip a beat. We were always set up to just do this, but now people are actually looting our offices and taking nicer chairs home, grabbing a second monitor, because when they were working at home, it was the odd time. We like working together. We like each other, even now. We're all working from home right now, and again, we just started a day in Teams, and really nothing has changed other than we're all probably bored of the food we're eating, and we want to get out. What we do, we help my companies harness the cloud. So we've got this phrase: get into it, stay with it. That's what we're all about with the cloud. So let's meet Go. So this is we have lots of teams, lots and lots of teams, and I do find when people talk to me about using Teams, like how many teams is too many or how many teams is too few. Don't even worry about it. If a team is not used regularly, Teams will tell you and suggest that you archive it. So there's even methods in place to manage that kind of bloat or scale. But so we have teams for every department, HR, finance, all that kind of stuff. We have teams for clients, both internal facing and external facing. We have teams for projects, but our main team is Go. And I'll talk about why we chose that name in a minute. But Go, as you can see, has several channels. This was actually a screenshot from yesterday. As you probably know, if you've used Teams before, there's always a general channel. You can't rename it, you can't delete it, you can't hide it. I actually locked that channel down just so it doesn't get noisy. So in a lot of cases, the general channel would be this place where you would just basically say what the team is about, maybe some top level information, and then just tuck it away. We have a client updates channel, so that's all about information about what's going on with our customers, that everyone in the company can see it. When we get down to the project level of working with a customer, there's going to be a team for that, and the people on that team will be regularly discussing in there. So the client updates channel is about broad client updates. Maybe a testimonial was given, maybe there's a heads up that everyone needs to know that an office is closed. Sure enough, there's a few clients that have just definitely shuttered down for a bit here. We have a company updates channel. So that's basically, in a way, it's kind of my channel as the chief troublemaker or president, but anybody can post there. But it really is just kind of messaging from on high of forecasting and or general policy changes. It's probably a bit grainy there, but this one says COVID-19. So we have a COVID-19 channel where we're basically, honestly, it's pretty much memes because everybody needs to laugh about what's going on or you'll go crazy. But also any information related to COVID. So stats, new policies coming from the government. We didn't want to really clutter up other places. So we built a channel for COVID-19, and I look forward to the day that we delete it and archive it, right? That time will come. That won't be information we need to keep, and I certainly don't want it cluttered in everywhere else. So having a COVID-19 channel that can just be like, this is happening, this is real, and then flick it away, move on, life goes back to normal, or to the new normal, which will involve Teams for a lot of people. We have a Jibber Jabber channel. Jibber Jabber is just nonsense. Memes, I saw this, it was funny. Can you believe this guy did this? You really need a channel like that to make sure that people can let off some steam. So people that are new to Teams can experiment. People will always be trying to figure out things. You don't really want them doing that in your business channels because that'll create clutter and drive people that are having trouble getting used to this or adopting it going, oh, Teams is just so noisy. So if you have a Jabber channel, or whatever you want to call it, water cooler, whatever, that's your place to let off steam, test stuff out. And people can be not notified on it. So if someone's just really serious and doesn't want to see that stuff, they can ignore it. System status for us is really just notifications from outside platforms. So we have a SaaS service called Navo. You should check it out, getnavo.com. We have the odd system that we keep an eye on for customers. We're really not in that business anymore. In fact, system status is very quiet, which is good. But system status is really just a hub for anything that comes in that's unexpected, comes in as an alert. People can jump on it and go, oh yeah, that looks, that's unexpected, we should deal with that. We have a tech news channel. So that's really, mostly it's for us, it's about Office 365 stuff. Hey, did you know Teams added this? Hey, did you know whatever? We don't want to really create a whole other team for that because it's probably 1 or 2 things a week. And we all want to be kind of looped in and always current about what it is we do in the platform that we work on. The Today channel, I'll come back to that one because it's the main one we're going to talk about. And then, we'll talk about Working Here. So Working Here is a bit like Company Updates. I actually have thought about collapsing the two into one, and I just haven't done it. But really, Working Here is all about what's going on this week or what's going on in this location. In fact, when you go to the Working Here channel, along the top, the tabs, one is Brentwood location information and save on the arena location, like where you go in there and not only is there conversation, but any information related to working at Regroove and its locations would be found there. So the last one here is the Today channel, and this is where we start every day. And like this was also already a culture thing that we had a long time ago, and I think it's on the next screen. Oh, awesome! Yeah, so there's a zoom in. We have our daily Scrum, and anybody can create a Today channel. And you could have someone just manually have a calendar appointment that says, okay, remember every day at 6:45 a.m., go in and say, today is blah, and to kick it off with the idea that everybody then jumps in and basically says what they're going to be doing that day. We use Microsoft Flow, or now Power Automate. I'll never get used to that phrase, to actually run a little service. We've got our little guy here called Clippy. You might remember him from, well, everybody knows Clippy. So Clippy, every day starts off first thing in the morning and creates the first post in Scrum of the day. So it actually grabs the current weather. It grabs actually who might be out of the office. So this particular example doesn't show anyone out of the office today. Everyone's working from home and no one's on vacation because where would you go? So we've got, it grabs that. It grabs anything from our change register. If there's any systems that were being updated that day. We actually even grab whether the Mercury retrograde is going on or there's a full moon because the world gets weird and people get weird. And then finally, we have our Scrum guidelines. So, you know, we basically ask the question, what are you working on today? What's on your mind? Is there anything blocking you from being successful today? Because everybody's going to check in there. It takes, you know, 2 minutes to just check in, say I'm working on whatever, and I'm stuck with this. Can someone help me? And people can basically help each other out. And then we added a daily gratitude thing too. Probably read about people having gratitude jars, and that, you know, if you give gratitude for 30 days, you'll actually generally be a happier person because you start to realize just how lucky you are. So we have people leaving gratitude in there, which is, I think, awesome. It builds this really together culture where we're all rooting for each other. If someone posts something of gratitude, I like it. That's my rule. So even if they're grateful for you know, a successful bowel movement, I'm going to be liking that because I just want to encourage that gratitude. I come up with the worst examples. Okay, so I'm suggesting a business that has certainly under 100 people, give it a try. You know, if you don't have an intranet now, try using Teams. If you have an intranet, try incorporating Teams, you know, whatever. So, and then you want to give it a name. So Go is good. This is the name I suggest. I've actually had a blog post in the past on it because we actually used to call our SharePoint intranets that as well. So why is Go good? Well, Go is easy to understand. It's the place you go. It's the place you go to start your day. You can call it intranet, but that's confusing because an intranet used to be a website. I've talked to companies where their intranet was called Insights or Inside or, all these things, and those are all fine. And I mean, you don't have to call it Go, but Go is nice and simple, and it's short. It's quick to type, and really, it doesn't set any particular expectation. So Go is the place you go. It's easy to redirect. So if you want to have a web page where someone's like go.regroove.ca and you want it to actually take you to to the Teams intranet, that would be really easy to do as well. It's easy to brand. So if you're going to add a image to Team, which you generally want to because people gravitate towards those kind of things, it's easy to find Teams when they have an image. Go, like you can see here, effectively when it's written, ends up being a square. And squares work really well with avatars and icons. And Go works today, it works tomorrow. As I say, it's not a name that you're probably going to regret later. So where does SharePoint fit in? I get that question a lot. And I think I added a slide here. I did. Teams, it's not Teams or SharePoint, it's Teams and SharePoint. Every team that you create, a SharePoint site is created behind it. That includes place for files, place for lists, place for pages. So really it is Teams and SharePoint. So recognize when you create that Go team, there will be a Go SharePoint site behind it. Okay, so I'm going to just show you a couple things. Got our pair environment here. And there's actually maybe not a lot to show at this point, other than, this is not regrooves because there's lots of colorful stuff going on there, and I'm usually responsible for most of it. So we're logged in here as Patty O'Furniture, pairing. We've got our Go team that's been created, and like I said, you've got a general channel where there's really you can't hide it, you can't delete it, you can't do anything with it really, but you can lock it down to at least leave some sort of like opening message about what the purpose of this team is for, and then leave it. At Pair, because Teams is just being rolled out, maybe we want to have a ask questions channel. So this could be like for sharing knowledge about Teams. People are like struggling to get to know it or understand it. It's been thrust upon them because their whole world is now working from home. Might be a good place to build a knowledge base. And within that channel, you've got tabs. So you could add if you're using a third-party help tool, or if Microsoft has I think it's called Learning Pathways SharePoint site that you can download and then just install, and it's just full of rich training information. Why wouldn't you just add a tab here so people can grab it in the future? Of course, you've got your jibber jabber, conducting polls, I'm selling my car, whatever, jokes, memes, etc. That's the place for it. Working here, right, is going to be that policies, new policy announcements, what might be going on this week, that kind of stuff. And then finally today, where you actually kick off maybe a scrum. Like I said, you can certainly do it manually and just see if that culture catches on. But you could automate it. And if you're not sure how to do that, contact us. We can do that for you. This is the business we're in, is making stuff happen in the cloud. So with that, I think that's pretty much it. I will mention we do make a tool called Navo, and it really is about connecting you to all your tools, whether it's in Office 365 or somewhere else. And oh, Chris says he's lost sound. I'm not getting a notification that we don't. Oh, Kyle can hear me. Hey, Chris, this webinar will be shared at the end, so you can catch the last 2 minutes of my rant there if you want. So having this like universal homepage inside Teams, like a landing page for finding all the stuff that maybe isn't in Teams, right? Not everything's going to live in a channel. And of course, Navo works everywhere. It works on your phone, works in SharePoint. It can be a Chrome extension. I mean, here it is here. So wherever you are, I can actually just, whatever website I'm on, right? I'm in Teams right now, but what if I was on Tesla.com and checking out the Model Y, and I'm like, oh crap, I need to find the Wi-Fi code. I could just go to working here and go and grab that Wi-Fi code. So yeah, Nabo is an interesting part of this scenario potentially, but doesn't need to be. I mean, at the end of the day, just getting people working out loud, sharing, and starting their day in here, and it being the place you go. It's the place where you start your day. I have Teams load on startup. I open Outlook later. I don't start my day in Outlook. So that's been a huge culture shift for me, and one that most of our teams have actually embraced, and it's been pretty awesome. So with that, I'm going to stop talking and get a coffee. I hope you have a good day. Check you later.